The galaxy was at peace, star systems glowed with life, and trade routes buzzed with activity. Galactic armadas patrolled the vast space between planets, proud and confident in their strength. No one had seen a threat in decades, and leaders across the galaxy believed that peace would last forever. But far beyond the outer rim, in the silent darkness of uncharted space, a strange energy signature began to appear. Admiral Kieran of the Orion fleet noticed the unusual readings first, staring at the blinking console. His eyes widened as the sensors recorded a massive object moving faster than any known ship. The crew whispered nervously, unsure what they were seeing, the air heavy with tension. This cannot be possible," Kieran muttered. "It's too large and too old." The Armada's captain, Mara Voss, stepped forward, her face calm, but her mind racing. "Sir, could it be a legend?" she asked, remembering the old stories of the ancient supercarrier. Legends said it was a weapon built by a civilization older than the galaxy itself. A ship so powerful that even fleets of the strongest warships could not challenge it. Kieran shook his head. "Legends or not, it is real, and it is coming toward us." Panic rippled across the bridge as officers tried to understand the readings. The energy waves from the object caused instruments to flicker, and some systems failed temporarily. No one had ever seen anything like it, the sheer size of the object dwarfing even the largest cruisers. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, similar readings appeared on every major fleet. Commanders called emergency meetings, trying to decide what action to take. Some wanted to prepare for war. Others insisted on caution, fearing an unknown power. Messages were sent to every allied system, warning them of the approaching anomaly. On the surface of Vesta Prime, civilians looked up at the sky, noticing strange lights. News broadcasts speculated about alien threats, ancient weapons, and mysterious ships. Fear spread quickly, but curiosity burned stronger. People wanted to see what no one had ever seen before. Children stared at the stars, imagining adventures and stories their parents had only whispered about. Kieran and his crew studied the object more closely, discovering patterns in its movement. It seemed deliberate, intelligent, like the ship had a purpose of its own. The closer it came, the more the Armada felt a strange energy in space. It was not just a ship. It was a force, ancient and powerful, ready to change everything. Mara Voss felt a chill run down her spine, sensing that nothing would ever be the same. "This is not just a visit," she said quietly. "It is a warning, or perhaps a test." The bridge grew silent as everyone watched the dark shape emerging from the void. Stars reflected off its massive hull, glowing faintly with alien technology, majestic and terrifying at the same time. As the object drew nearer, the fleet realized the truth: a supercarrier, ancient and unstoppable. Galactic forces, proud and confident moments ago, now faced uncertainty and fear. And somewhere deep within the ship, systems began to awaken, lights flickering on after centuries of silence. The calm before the storm had ended. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the first move. The ancient supercarrier moved silently through the void, its massive hull cutting through the darkness like a shadow of destiny. Galactic sensors struggled to read its structure, waves of energy bouncing back with impossible frequencies. Admiral Kieran stared at the displays, feeling a mixture of awe and fear. "Whatever this is," he whispered, "it is far beyond anything we have ever known." Pilots reported strange phenomena in their paths, stars bending strangely around invisible forces. Shuttles experienced sudden power surges, instruments spinning out of control. Some even claimed they could hear faint echoes, like distant whispers, carried through space itself. The Armada was no longer confident, the calm of yesterday replaced by a tense, electric fear. Mara Voss convened her officers in the command room, their faces pale and drawn. Every fleet across the galaxy is seeing the same thing. She said, "We are not alone, and we are not ready." Advisors argued, attack, retreat, or observe, but none had answers, the situation unprecedented. Kieran clenched his fists, knowing any rash move could mean destruction for billions of lives. Meanwhile, the supercarrier seemed to react to their presence, glowing faintly, pulsing with energy. It moved with precision, not randomly, as if it was aware of every ship around it. The Armada's weapons felt useless, power readings dropping whenever they tried to fire. It was as if the ship itself commanded the battlefield, a silent master of war. A small reconnaissance team was sent closer, weaving through the shadows of stars. They transmitted images back, structures unlike any known technology, glowing corridors stretching beyond imagination. Ancient alien scripts ran along the hull, flowing like liquid, shifting and impossible to decipher. The crew stared in disbelief, feeling the weight of something older than civilization itself. Suddenly, a pulse of energy erupted from the supercarrier, knocking out nearby ships. Systems went dark, alarms screamed across the fleet, panic spreading like wildfire. Even the bravest captains hesitated, realizing brute force would not win this encounter. The mysterious ship was testing them, probing defenses, calculating responses with cold intelligence. On the command bridge, Kieran and Mara exchanged a glance, understanding without words. "This is no ordinary warship," Mara said. "It may be alive in ways we cannot imagine." Advisors suggested retreat, but Kieran shook his head. "We cannot run. We need answers before it's too late." The Armada formed a cautious perimeter, observing, analyzing, and waiting for the next move. Meanwhile, the supercarrier sent out pulses of light, scanning entire systems at once. Stars flickered as if bowing to its presence, planets shivering under its silent influence. Every sensor in the fleet screamed warnings, yet no one could interpret them fully. It was a force of nature, ancient and unstoppable, and it had finally awakened. The tension across the galaxy grew, rumors spreading faster than fleets could move. Whispers of the legendary supercarrier became reality, and fear turned to obsession. Pilots could not sleep, strategists could not plan, civilians could not rest. The warning signals were clear. The galaxy had entered a new era, and no one could turn back. The ancient supercarrier drifted closer, its full size finally revealed to the shocked Armada. It stretched for miles, a colossal fortress of metal and light, bristling with weaponry that no galaxy had ever seen. Every surface shimmered with alien energy, pulsing like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Pilots fell silent, their voices caught in their throats, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what they faced. Admiral Kieran gripped the railing of the bridge, staring at the enormous ship with wide eyes. This is the legend," he whispered, "the supercarrier, the weapon of the ancients." Even Mara Voss, calm and composed under pressure, felt a shiver run down her spine. The Armada had faced many threats before, but nothing like this, nothing so terrifying and magnificent. The supercarrier's hull began to glow brighter, lights tracing alien patterns across its surface. Energy waves pulsed outward, disabling the nearest warships with a silent, invisible force. Fighters spun helplessly, engines sputtering, as if caught in a storm they could not escape. It became clear the ship was not just massive, it was alive in some way, responding to the Armada's presence. Kieran ordered scanners to focus on the ship, desperate for information. Data flooded in, but nothing made sense. Readings beyond comprehension, systems fluctuating wildly. The supercarrier's structure defied physics, corridors and decks stretching impossibly. Ancient inscriptions glimmered across the hull, symbols that seemed to move, whispering secrets to those who could see. A squad of reconnaissance drones was launched, tiny specks against the giant's hull. Their cameras captured images that stunned the fleet. towering towers of energy, engines that seemed to hum with life. It was not just a warship, it was a monument, a weapon, a sentinel, and a mystery. Every captain in the Armada realized they were witnessing something older than their civilizations, older than the stars themselves. Then, without warning, the supercarrier fired a test pulse, a beam of concentrated energy. A nearby cruiser was torn apart, shredded without a chance to react, debris scattering like sparks in the void. Shock rippled through the fleet, morale shattered in an instant. Panic spread, but amidst the chaos, Kieran and Mara saw a pattern. A warning, not random destruction. "This is a challenge," Mara said, voice steady but tense. "It wants to see what we are capable of." Kieran nodded. "We cannot fight it with force alone. We must understand it." The supercarrier's lights brightened further, scanning every ship, every movement, every weapon. It was alive, aware, and judging the galaxy's defenses, calculating their strength, their intelligence, their courage. Across the fleet, whispers of all-replaced fear, captains realizing the truth. They were not facing an enemy, but a force beyond comprehension, a relic with a purpose. And in the silence that followed the destruction, a deeper question emerged. Why had it awakened now? What ancient mission had finally come alive? And what part would humanity and its allies play in this new era? The fleet held its breath, watching as the supercarrier hovered like a god in space. Its presence alone had shifted the balance of power across the galaxy. And somewhere deep inside, mechanisms long dormant began to stir, lights igniting along corridors that had not seen life in millennia. The unveiling was complete, but the story had only just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. News of the supercarrier's awakening spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every star system buzzed with tension, leaders calling emergency councils, fleets scrambling to respond. Galactic powers, once proud and confident, were now shaken to their core. Armadas that had patrolled peacefully for decades suddenly realized how fragile their dominance truly was. Admiral Kieran watched reports flood in, each one more alarming than the last. Rival factions, sensing opportunity, began mobilizing, their warships cutting through space at impossible speeds. Some planned to attack the supercarrier, believing courage and firepower could conquer the unknown. Others called for caution, urging diplomacy and observation, warning that rash actions might trigger disaster. Mara Voss stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the holographic map of the galaxy. "Every system is reacting," she said, voice calm but urgent, "and every decision could be fatal." Strategists argued furiously, debating alliances and betrayals, the air thick with tension. No one knew the supercarrier's intentions, and every guess carried consequences beyond imagination. Meanwhile, the supercarrier pulsed with energy, as if sensing the chaos it had unleashed. A faint hum echoed through space, vibrations felt even in distant systems. It was not attacking, yet every fleet felt its power, unable to ignore its presence. Ships faltered, weapons misfired, and communications experienced strange interference. Kieran realized the supercarrier was testing them, probing weaknesses, evaluating responses. It was alive in some way, ancient intelligence judging every choice, every strategy, every emotion. Across the galaxy, commanders felt the same chill, a collective fear and awe gripping minds and hearts. Even the most seasoned captains hesitated, unsure if they were observing a weapon, a relic, or a being. On the fringes of the galaxy, a secret faction made a bold move. They sent a fleet cloaked in stealth, intending to strike the supercarrier's hull directly. Kieran's sensors picked them up too late, alarms blaring as ships darted into the void. The supercarrier responded in silence, beams of energy moving with impossible precision, disabling pursuers without destroying them. Back on the Armada's bridge, Mara's hand hovered over the command console. "This is no ordinary battle," she said quietly. It is a message or a warning. Every pulse of energy, every reaction of the supercarrier seemed to convey intelligence, a purpose beyond destruction. It was not chaos. It was strategy, ancient and calculated, testing the galaxy's courage and resolve. Across allied systems, people watched the skies nervously, news broadcasts struggling to describe the unimaginable. Children and scientists alike stared at the stars, imagining powers far beyond their understanding. Rumors of the supercarrier's origins grew wilder, legends mixing with reality, fear blending with awe. The galaxy felt smaller, fragile, and powerless, yet alive with anticipation. Kieran and Mara realized one truth above all. The supercarrier was not here for conquest alone. It was here to awaken something ancient, something hidden. And as its lights pulsed brighter, illuminating vast regions of space, the Armada knew their next decisions would decide the fate of millions. The shockwave had begun, and the galaxy was on the edge of a new era, one filled with danger, mystery, and unimaginable power. The Armada's fleet hovered cautiously near the ancient supercarrier. Its colossal form seemed to breathe, energy flowing along its hull like veins of light. Admiral Kieran and Mara Voss prepared a small strike team to board the ship. They knew this mission was dangerous, but the answers within could decide the fate of the galaxy. Shuttles launched, weaving through the eerie glow surrounding the supercarrier. Pilots held their breath as sensors flickered, warning of unknown energy fields. The carrier's surface pulsed, scanning every movement, analyzing every approach. It was alive, ancient, and aware, watching with intelligence far beyond human understanding. Inside, corridors stretched endlessly, walls glowing with alien symbols. The team's footsteps echoed in silence, each step filled with tension and awe. Strange devices hummed softly, reacting to their presence. It was a ship built not just for war, but for a purpose far greater. Mara ran her hand along a glowing console, symbols shifting under her touch. These scripts, they're not language, she whispered. They're instructions, a map of some kind. Kieran studied the massive chambers, noticing dormant engines that could tear planets apart. And yet, despite the terrifying power, there was elegance, a sense of order and intelligence. Suddenly, a section of the hull shifted, revealing a hidden chamber. Lights ignited inside, illuminating a vast control room, pulsing with energy. The team could see ancient AI systems, dormant but slowly awakening. It was clear the carrier was not only a weapon, but a guardian, a sentinel of the galaxy. A holographic projection appeared, alien shapes twisting and rotating. Images of stars, fleets, and ancient battles danced before their eyes. Kieran and Mara realized this ship held knowledge of civilizations long gone. Its purpose was not destruction alone, but preservation, a test for those who dared to face it. Then, without warning, the corridors shook, alarms echoing. The ship activated defense protocols, energy barriers forming around critical areas. The team barely avoided traps, pulses of light, and force knocking back anyone who approached carelessly. It was a warning. The carrier would allow no one to exploit its power lightly. Mara studied the holographic projection, noticing patterns linking the galaxy's history. "Look," she said, "it has been observing us for centuries, choosing the worthy, teaching and testing." Kieran felt a chill, understanding the weight of the responsibility placed on their fleet. This was not merely a ship, it was a judge, a force that demanded respect and courage. As they moved deeper, they discovered chambers containing weapons, energy cores, and dormant fleets. Technology beyond imagination, capable of reshaping star systems. It remained still, waiting for the right moment, calculating the choices of those who approached. And somewhere deep within, lights flickered on, signaling that the carrier had finally decided to awaken fully. The team exchanged tense glances, knowing their next actions could unlock salvation or destruction. The secrets of the supercarrier were vast, its purpose ancient, and its power unimaginable. And as the energy pulsed around them, the team realized one truth above all. The galaxy would never be the same, and the real challenge had only just begun. The galaxy trembled as fleets from every system converged on the supercarrier. Ships of every size and design raced through the void, weapons primed, engines blazing. Admiral Kieran commanded from the flagship, heart pounding as the stakes became clearer. This was no ordinary battle. This was a test, a trial, and a warning all at once. Mara Voss coordinated the defenses, guiding smaller fleets around invisible energy fields. The supercarrier hovered silently, colossal and calm, as if daring the armadas to strike. Then, without warning, a pulse of energy erupted from the ship, a wave that disabled shields and engines across dozens of warships instantly. Panic swept through the fleets, captains struggling to regain control. Some fired blindly, energy beams striking nothing, ricocheting harmlessly into space. Others tried evasive maneuvers, but the carrier anticipated their every move. It was as if the ship could see their thoughts, predict their intentions before they acted. Kieran barked orders, formed defensive formations. Do not engage blindly. Study it. Pilots weaved through the void, trying to avoid the deadly pulses of energy. Fighters spun and flipped, barely escaping the invisible currents of force. Yet the carrier remained unmoved, almost serene, a storm of destruction barely restrained. Suddenly, a smaller fleet attempted a coordinated strike on one flank. Missiles and energy beams combined to form a massive assault. The supercarrier responded effortlessly, deflecting attacks with glowing shields. Entire warships were lifted, tossed, and disabled without a single shot landing. Mara whispered, "It's testing our limits, not destroying us outright." Kieran realized that brute force alone would never win this battle. They had to understand, adapt, and anticipate the supercarrier's moves. It was not merely a fight. It was a challenge, an intelligence far older and stronger than any they had known. In the chaos, a fleet tried to retreat, but the ship blocked their path. Energy tendrils snaked through space, creating barriers and funnels, guiding ships where the carrier willed. Even the bravest admirals felt helpless, powerless against such overwhelming control. And yet, in the center of the storm, Kieran saw opportunity, a chance to communicate, to reason, to survive. The supercarrier's lights flashed rapidly, signaling patterns, almost like a language. Mara leaned over, trying to decipher the pulses, the rhythm, the intent behind them. They realized the ship had no desire to annihilate, only to judge, to challenge. Those who could understand it would survive. Those who acted recklessly would be crushed. Across the battlefield, chaos continued, but a new order began to emerge. Fleets that coordinated, observed, and adapted fared better than those who attacked recklessly. The supercarrier seemed to approve, pulses of energy less violent for those who respected it. It was a living weapon, ancient and powerful, shaping the galaxy not through fear, but through challenge. Kieran and Mara knew this was a turning point. The battle would not be won with strength alone, but with courage, intelligence, and unity. The clash of armadas had begun, and the galaxy held its breath. Every pulse, every decision, every heartbeat mattered in the presence of the unstoppable supercarrier. The battle had ended, but the galaxy remained on edge. Fleets hovered cautiously, engines idling, sensors scanning, hearts still racing from the supercarrier's overwhelming power. Admiral Kieran and Mara Voss stood on the flagship, watching the colossal ship in silence. It had not attacked in full force, yet every display, every pulse had reminded them of its unstoppable might. Slowly, the supercarrier began to move, its trajectory deliberate, almost purposeful. It seemed to lead the fleets away from destruction, guiding them like a teacher showing a path. Energy waves pulsed gently, repairing minor damages in Allied ships. The galaxy realized, with awe and disbelief, that the ship's intent was not to conquer, but to awaken understanding. Inside the supercarrier, holographic displays revealed star maps, alien fleets, and ancient histories. The AI systems projected knowledge of civilizations long vanished, technologies far beyond imagination. Kieran and Mara studied the projections, understanding at last that the carrier had been waiting for capable minds. It was a sentinel, a guardian of knowledge, testing the galaxy's courage, unity, and intelligence. Across systems, leaders communicated urgently, try to interpret the new reality. Rival factions paused, realizing their petty conflicts were meaningless against such an ancient force. The supercarrier had changed the balance of power, not by destroying, but by showing the true scale of the galaxy. It demanded respect, observation, and wisdom, rewarding those who understood, punishing arrogance and recklessness. Kieran turned to Mara. This is a new beginning, not just a victory or defeat. Mara nodded. The galaxy has been tested and survived, but the real journey starts now. The supercarrier's lights brightened, sending signals across the stars. Messages that spoke not in words, but in understanding, inviting those willing to learn. Fleets slowly reorganized, cooperation replacing competition, alliances forming from shared awe. Scientists and pilots, soldiers and diplomats alike, marveled at the relic's purpose. It was a challenge, a lesson, and a warning that the galaxy had entered a new era. One filled with possibilities, discoveries, and dangers beyond imagination. As the supercarrier drifted toward unexplored regions, its silhouette majestic against the stars, Kieran felt a strange mixture of relief and excitement, knowing their journey had only begun. Mara whispered, "Whatever comes next, we are ready, or at least we will be." The galaxy watched silently, holding its breath, aware that history had shifted forever. In the distance, new energy signatures flickered, strange signals from ancient worlds. Hints of civilizations waiting, challenges to overcome, and mysteries to solve. The supercarrier had awakened not just as a weapon, but as a guide, and the galaxy, united and vigilant, stepped into a dawn it had never known before. The armadas held position, watching the stars, minds racing with questions. The ancient sentinel moved quietly, leaving a trail of light, a path for the brave and the wise. And somewhere in the heart of the galaxy, hope, fear, and curiosity intertwined. For the galaxy had survived the test, but the adventure, the true story, was only beginning.